And a short time ago, I was joined from Canberra by the Minister for Employment and Workplace Relations. Bill Shortern, welcome.
Good evening, Chris.
The unemployment rate has dropped. There are more people in work than ever before, and that's great news, but it must be cold comfort to workers in Qantas, the ANZ and Holden.
That's right. Whilst the unemployment numbers were lower than expected at 5.1%, which puts us almost in the gold medal position compared to most other westernised nations, people who risk losing their jobs due to the high price of the dollar, the challenges in manufacturing, certainly they're a priority for the government as well.
So where are jobs being created in the economy and where are they being lost?
Well, today, Australia has more people working than ever before in our history. This is, I think, a cause for at least some pleasure. The new jobs are being created in the services industry, in mining, in healthcare, a lot of small businesses, a lot of micro businesses. People are setting up businesses in their homes using the internet, which underlines the importance of the Labor government's vision on a national broadband network. So in the services sector, there is certainly growth, as there is a bit in mining.
But when we look across all of last year, there was no net job gain across the whole of 2011. So it must be a very confusing picture for people when they see job losses and they hear that, in fact, we're doing quite well on the job front.
Well, that's right. The mining boom is delivering great outcomes for some Australians, but other sectors are doing it hard: retail, domestic tourism, manufacturing. Because of the high dollar means that it's easy to import goods and it makes it more expensive for Asian students to study in Australia. Australians can buy cheap overseas holidays rather than just go to Australia. So that is why it's important that our mining tax gets through. I mean, the Abbott opposition just leave me confused with their negativity. They'd like to give back $10 billion to the richest companies in Australia and overseas. What we want to do is use that money to help lower the corporate tax rate, to help people boost their superannuation savings. We have an uneven economy. Today's numbers highlight that, but it is also fundamental that our economy is resilient.
Isn't the best thing you can do, though, is provide a flexible workplace for employers? And at the moment, they're all screaming about the Fair Work Act, saying that it's not doing that.
We have more people participating in the workforce in Australia than at any time since the convict era. So, in fact, for all of our modern history, we've got more people participating. If we've got low unemployment, and if we've got more people participating, if we've got more Australians going to work today than ever before, I would suggest to you that, in fact, there are opportunities for growth.
But as you say, it's an uneven picture, though, because 20% of the economy is growing at about 15%, the other 80% is growing at 1%, and the big employers are suffering under your Fair Work Act.
No, I think what we're doing here is you've got a set of facts, but you're saying there's only one conclusion from them. Where Qantas is looking at reviewing its maintenance operations, that's not because of the Fair Work Act. It's because they've bought new Airbuses, Air 380s and other modern planes, which require less maintenance than the much older fleet of 747s. The invention of the Airbus 380 has got nothing to do with the Fair Work Act. When you see ANZ laying off 500 people over the next 12 months, that's because of the downturn in Europe. That's because of the higher cost of capital. I don't think it's fair to say that the Greek economic crisis is due to the Fair Work Act.
No, but when Alan Joyce had to shut the airline down, it was because he said of the way that the Fair Work Act was working, left him with no other choice. And Heather Ridout from the Australian Industry Group has pointed to 100 new union rights built into the Fair Work Act and none for employers.
Well, again, you've got some people who want to run an agenda and say that there's problems. They're entitled to their opinions. I think the closure of Qantas, the grounding of all those aeroplanes, the inconveniencing of tens of thousands of passengers, thousands of workforce left trapped all over the world, I believe that the company could have given notice of that. I believe there was a better way. Anyway, Qantas and its most recent announcements are not saying that's due to the Fair Work Act. But it is important that when
But a lot of employers are saying there are real problems with the Fair Work Act. They're all putting that sort of input into your review of the Act at the moment. So are you saying that it's perfect, that it's not creating problems for employers?
No, you're putting words in my mouth. I'm not saying I don't think anything in life's perfect. But what I do believe is that the important issues are jobs and skills. We're spending $3.5 billion making sure that people of all ages have got the skills to adjust as an economy adjusts. We're backing in existing industries such as the car industry, unlike Tony Abbott. I mean, what surprised me is that recently at Holden, they've negotiated a wage rise where the workers get 3% for each of 3 years. They get a payment, a bonus of $1,000 in the second and third year, and they've got to make some productivity targets. Remember, this is the Holden workforce who, during the global financial crisis, stopped working extra shifts. They took a pay cut of between 25 and 40%. So this is the dream workforce of the future. They will take a pay cut, they will work hard, and now when they get a pay rise for what they've put up with in the past, Tony Abbott blames them.
And in the financial crisis, the workplace relations system that we took that time around was the Howard government's one. This time, it's your system that's being tested. And according to the employers, it's not bearing up well.
Well, you know, I hate to be a spoil sport on the sort of myth-making, but where's the evidence? We've got a review,
the Australian Industry Group has said that it's tested this routinely in court, and all of these industry groups are putting in submissions to your review.
Well, the Australian Industry Group obviously represent employers, so they have a particular point of view, again, which they're entitled to, but they come from a particular point of view. And did you know that as they've tested the system and made appeals, they've been successful in 13 out of 15 cases? That's under the existing law. So it's one thing for the industry group to say, oh, we don't like the Act, but when they've actually used the Act and they've tested and they've used their rights, they've won.
On a broad question, the government clearly has some good news stories to tell. Is it going to be impossible for you to tell those stories until you resolve the leadership crisis?
Well, I think that tonight's interview shows that it's possible to tell the stories. It depends what questions the journalists ask. I think that what Australians want is that they're sort of sick of politicians attacking each other, and they want to know what's happening on jobs, what's happening on skills. The big things which concern family households is how to make ends meet. Will their kids and their grandkids have jobs and will have skills? If they want politicians to stop attacking each other, are you going to get Kevin Rudd and his supporters to stop attacking the Prime Minister? I know what's important. What's important is how families are making ends meet. I know that whilst talking about personalities can be of superficial interest, my constituents in Maribyrnong elect me to make sure that, you know, as they grow older, they've got enough money to retire on. That's why we're lifting super, to make sure their kids are getting an adequate education. They've got the skills in the modern world. That's what people are interested in, and I'm not going to let myself, and I know the Prime Minister and the government as a whole, are not going to get distracted by things which take our eye off the main game.
Bill Shortern, thank you.
Thank you.